Welcome to this explainer. Look, you already know the exact scenario we're talking about today. The park is closing, screen time is up, or it's time to leave a friend's house. You give a warning, you give another. But as soon as you finally say those dreaded words, "it's time to go," the calm just totally evaporates. It's replaced by tears, shouts, or a full-blown meltdown. As a parent of a neurodiverse child, dealing with this daily transition battle is brutal. It's exhausting, and we aren't here to sugarcoat it or offer you pity. We're here to validate that reality, name the difficulty honestly, and explain exactly what is happening under the hood so you can actually handle it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Why does ending a seemingly simple activity, like leaving a friend's house, spark such a massive explosion? When your child melts down over leaving a preferred place, it feels incredibly personal, right? It feels like a deliberate act designed specifically to push your buttons and just completely ruin the afternoon.
In the heat of the moment, we almost always assume it's thing one, deliberate defiance. We think they're just pushing our buttons. But the counterintuitive truth here is thing two, neurological disengagement. Your child isn't choosing to be difficult. They aren't trying to manipulate you. They're actually grappling with a really fundamental brain process. What looks like stubbornness to us is a brain that is genuinely struggling to shift gears. It's not a matter of won't. It's very often a matter of can't easily.
Section 4, the neurological why, inside the brain.
Let's strip away those parental assumptions for a second and look directly at the unembellished science of what is actually happening in a neurodiverse child's brain when a preferred activity stops. It really all comes down to one core event, a dopamine drop. Highly preferred activities, like playing a video game or running around the playground, they flood a developing brain with dopamine. That's the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. So when that activity suddenly ends, it causes a sharp, totally disorienting decrease in that reward chemical. This isn't just a psychological bummer for the kid. It is an intensely uncomfortable physical and mental crash.
And that dopamine crash, it leads right into an executive function overload, which is driven by three major hurdles. First off, shifting attention. There's a massive cognitive switching cost required to disengage from one task and re-engage with a completely new one, making the transition physically and mentally taxing. Second, planning and anticipation. The unknown of what's next can be absolutely terrifying, especially if they lack the mental framework to predict the sequence of events. And third, inhibition. The ability to just stop a dopamine-rich activity is an advanced executive function skill, and that is exceptionally challenging for a neurodiverse brain.
Section 7, the sensory shift, environmental jarring.
Now, it isn't just the brain's internal chemistry making this hard. The physical environment heavily amplifies this neurological struggle, often making transitions practically painful. And this brilliantly illustrates that contrast. Think about moving from thing one, a loud, bright, highly stimulating environment like a park, to thing two, a quiet, confined environment like a car. Moving abruptly from one to the other is incredibly jarring. Sudden changes in light, sound, texture, or even temperature can trigger immediate sensory dysregulation. Their sensory systems are totally overloaded, and the meltdown you're seeing is just the outward display of that massive internal distress.
Section 9, strategies that actually work. Practical grounding. So, understanding the why is absolutely essential, but now we need to talk about the actionable how. Let's shift from the theory to concrete, source-backed tools to help smooth out these intense moments. Here is a toolkit of 4 practical steps that build a vital bridge for your child's brain. Number 1, predictability and timers. Number 2, first-then statements. Number 3, transition objects. And number 4, co-regulation. Let's walk through exactly how a few of these work in practice to reduce that friction.
Take the concept of timers, for example. Using a visual sand timer or a digital countdown externalizes the bad guy. It shifts the boundary completely away from you, the parent, and onto a neutral object. You can say, when the timer goes off, we leave. Combine that with a simple first-then statement, like, first we put on our shoes, then we watch a show. This provides clear motivation and drastically reduces the anxiety of the unknown simply because the child knows exactly what the sequence is going to be.
Next, we have to address that massive dopamine crash we talked about earlier. Immediate engagement with a transition object helps replace that lost dopamine hit. And listen, this is not a bribe. It is a neurological bridge. We advise parents to use a carry-along item. Bring a favorite Lego into the car or have a special audiobook ready to play the absolute second they buckle in. It helps the brain shift gears smoothly without totally crashing.
Section 13, using tools and anchors, connecting the dots.
Let's take this a step further and introduce technology and specific anchors, like those from Bright Kids AI, to anticipate and manage meltdowns before they even happen. Listen to this realization from a parent using these tools. Instead of seeing defiance, I'm reacting to his neurological needs. That is incredible peer-to-peer validation right there. When you use the right tools, it reframes the entire battle. It stops being a fight against the stubborn child, and it becomes a collaborative rhythm where you're actually supporting their specific needs.
Consider the specific Bright Kids AI transition tools that families are relying on. They offer personalized songs as a sensory bridge, the My Stars visual check-in, and weekly briefs for pattern recognition. For instance, rather than shouting a generic 5-minute warning across a crowded playground, parents use a custom personalized song. It's a short, melodic tune that includes the child's name and maybe even mentions their favorite blue truck. It acts as a highly predictable, sensory-friendly anchor that just cuts right through the noise.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the My Stars concept. When a child is flooded and heading toward a meltdown, finding verbal vocabulary is nearly impossible. This tool replaces words entirely with visual states. They can just tap Sleepy Star and Violet if they are low energy, or Big Boom and Orange if they are totally dysregulated. Naming the feeling visually at predictable transition points removes the massive stress of having to explain themselves while they're overwhelmed.
So the crucial point is what happens with all those visual check-ins. The weekly briefs turn those daily micro-observations into actionable patterns. If you look at the data and spot a pattern of big booms happening consistently on Tuesday afternoons, well, you now have a roadmap. You know Tuesday afternoon is absolutely not the time to push for a long park visit or a tricky transition. You can adjust your routine and your environment to anticipate the hurdle before you even get there.
We're going to leave you with this final, absolutely vital thought. Transitioning is a skill to be developed, not a character flaw to be punished. When your child struggles, they are navigating incredibly complex brain processes. But with predictability, sensory bridges, and the right tools to connect the dots, you can support them. You are capable, you are equipped with a totally new perspective, and you can absolutely change the rhythm of your daily transitions. So ask yourself, next time your child digs their heels in at the park, will you see a bottle of Wills or a brain begging for a bridge? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Until next time, keep observing, keep adapting, and take it one transition at a time.